Carrying on with our restoration or repair project on this Sparton auger horn. This was originally used on between a 2831 Ford Model A. I'm not sure which one or which year because they used various ones. This one has the name Sparton stamped on both the motor housing as well as on the bell housing, and it does not have the Ford script, which some of them had. And as I was tearing it apart and trying to determine why it wouldn't work, the motor was spinning, but it wouldn't make any sound. It was just sounded like a motor spinning. And I tried researching online, and I couldn't find anything that would give me a breakdown on the parts for one of these to know exactly how it should go together. So part of my intent with this video series is to show how these come apart. I'm not going to disassemble the motor on this itself because it does work properly. It was already taken by my friend who owns this to an electrical repair shop, electrical motor repair shop, and they soldered the wires on. One of the wires have since come unsoldered again, so I need to resolder it. But you can see I have the motor cover in primer over there, and I'm going to try and smooth that out. I showed you close-ups of it before where it was dented and where little tabs on either side of the opening for the wires had been folded back. I've got them folded back over again, but I need to do some more work on it. But what I found in the process of my experimentation and in the process of cleaning this up was that this diaphragm was put in backwards. This side had been put in towards the motor side, which has this little what they call a ratchet disc, and let me pick that up and I'll show you what I mean by the ratchet disc. This unit right here is called the ratchet disc, and this is the spring tensioner tab which goes on the bottom of the shaft. Now this is actually attached to the motor shaft. I have this taped up, and I guess I could untape it now, seeing as how I have finished painting it for today. This has a coat of, after I've cleaned these, I have put metal etching primer on them before I do anything more, and to give a good bonding of the paint or the next coat of primer. This is in really nice shape. Didn't have much pitting in it at all, so I just did the metal etching primer and then I have painted it gloss black. Okay, so now you can see the motor, and you can see where this one wire has come detached. I'm going to have to solder it back in again. But the motor shaft goes down all the way through, and this little ratchet disc is mounted to the bottom of it. And this spring clip here holds pressure on the motor. Now on the top you have this adjuster screw which actually pushes up and down on this motor, and you adjust it down or back to get the proper tone. I have it adjusted almost all the way down to get it to work. This is a 6-volt motor, but I don't have a 6-volt battery, so I've been testing it on my 12-volt battery. And I did get it to do the auger sound, and after I get it all restored and painted again, I will demonstrate that for you. But I will also be demonstrating how this spins. Now what happens is, you'll notice that this disc is not in the center. It is off center in the engine housing. And what that little disc does, that little ratchet disc is what they call it, actually hits on this tab right here. See that? And that tab is flat on two sides so that it's made so that it hits on this, and as this turns it strikes this and it makes this diaphragm vibrate, and that's what ends up giving you a ooga sound from this vibrating back and forth. So if this is put on wrong, and there is a particular way, you'll notice that there's a little tab right here on the engine housing, and you'll also notice that there is a hole right here on the diaphragm that goes into that little tab, so that when it is installed it is in the proper orientation to be able to strike against that ratchet ring. And as I said, this had been installed backwards like this, so there was nothing for that ratchet ring to strike against. And I don't know who did it. It evidently was done a long time ago, because when I took this apart, this side, which should have been against this, was this way obviously, and it was open to the weather, and this side was very, very rusty. This side here I have not cleaned up at all. This side here I ran on the wire wheel and cleaned it up. This side here I haven't cleaned up at all, and it was against this the motor side. And you can see that inside here this is all nice and clean with no rust in it. So this has been sealed in there for quite a long time, but nobody took any thought as to why it was put on that way. And the fact is that it was put on the wrong way, and it should have been installed this way here. And that's why when my friend took it to the electrical motor repair shop, they couldn't get it to work, and he brought it home and he would show it to me, and he couldn't get it to work. All it would do is the motor would spin. So now that we have determined the proper orientation of this diaphragm against here, lining up this tab with this little hole right here, and it's all assembled back again, it will make the auga sound. So I've got to solder this wire back again. They put these wires on because evidently the originals were all coming apart, deteriorated. That's not really what I would call proper wiring for this motor, but I have no idea what he's going to use it for. I'll probably put some shrink tubing over it so it looks a little bit more appropriate. What it should have is a woven wire on it, which I don't happen to have. But as I progress along, I'll take a few more pictures. So now you know how an auga horn works, at least the original ones made by Sparton. There was also another company called Claxton that made these of a different configuration, and there are a lot of different configurations. This is the one that they used on the Model A's from 1928 through 1931. So keep on watching and you'll get to see this completely finished and hear it run.